On Pulau Ubin, worshippers still bring offerings to an unnamed German teenager said to have died there in 1914. Yet the reviewed historical sources reveal no verified identity or contemporary record for her. The only problem is enormous. Researchers found no named girl, no contemporary death report, and no German plantation family living on the island. The shrine is real. Its worship is real. The paper trail suggests the famous ghost at its center may have arrived much later. The supposed German girl has no verified name. Tradition describes her as roughly 18, but even that age comes from later retellings. Its principal modern storyteller was Chaya Yengkeng, a Pulau Ubin resident born in 1928. He entered the world 14 years after the alleged death. He was not an eyewitness. His account came through a village elder who had not witnessed the event either. So the investigation begins with a strange split, a living sacred place on one side and an almost invisible historical subject on the other. The shrine stands near the former Aqua granite quarry, now associated with Kitam Quarry and its mountain bike park. Known locally as Na Du Gunyang, it remains a place for prayers and offerings. Visitors leave religious objects and women's accessories. National parks and the National Heritage Board both preserve the German girl account. That makes it an official heritage narrative, not contemporary proof. The public story starts in 1914, when Europe's war reached Singapore and British authorities imposed controls affecting German and Austrian nationals. British authorities really did impose controls on German and Austrian nationals. Contemporary newspapers reported registration, detention, and relocation measures. That verified policy gives the legend a believable frame, but it proves only that such controls existed, not that they reached a particular family on Pulau Ubin. According to the familiar version, a German family operated a coffee plantation on Ubin when war began. British forces came to detain them. Their teenage daughter supposedly escaped into the forest, while the others were taken away. She never returned. Later workers were said to have found her body near the quarry, sometimes described as covered by ants, and buried her close to the hill. No verified record establishes that scene. The sources suggest an older sacred tradition may later have been recast as the German girl's story, but no early document records that transformation. To test the story, researchers examined the island's estate history. That trail begins decades before the First World War. A British planter opened the Pulau Ubin estate in 1880 for coffee and cacao. German trading agency D. Brandt and Company later acquired the land. But D. Brandt sold the property in 1907. In 1910, the British-owned Serangoon Rubber Company acquired it and replaced coffee with rubber. By the year of the alleged death, the supposed German coffee plantation had already disappeared from the documented landscape. The 1914 Singapore and Straits Directory described the island's remaining plantation as 789 acres, including 352 acres of rubber and coconut. It named F.W. Riley, described as Anglo-Irish, as manager. It did not document a resident German family running coffee operations. The Years Ladies Directory listed no women living on Pulau Ubin. That cannot exclude every visitor, worker, or unregistered resident, but the expected family is absent. Meanwhile, quarrying was erasing the landscape where the shrine's older form supposedly stood. Granite extraction expanded from the 1920s onward. The Ong Lai Swa Granite Hill was almost leveled by 1969. Whatever stood there faced a danger more immediate than historical doubt. Heritage accounts say the shrine was moved because quarrying threatened its earlier location. The relocation itself is strongly supported. Its exact year is not. The National Heritage Board gives 1974. Other oral accounts place the move in the late 1970s or early 1980s, and surviving company files do not settle it. Even the question of what was moved remains uncertain. Accounts mention an urn, a mound, ashes, hair, bones, or almost nothing at all. No forensic inventory identifies a teenage skeleton. Conflicting memories include finger bones, chicken bones, and an empty container. These contradictions do not prove that the shrine lacked an older burial or sacred object. They show that later certainty outran the surviving physical evidence. If the archives do not support the German family, when did that identity become dominant? The answer appears in the story's changing versions. The earliest known newspaper account located by BiblioAsia appeared in Berita Minggu on 27th of October 1985. It told a different story. That article associated the hill with a Javanese princess or holy woman. It apparently said nothing about a German teenager. The newspaper supplied no identified source for that tradition. It cannot establish a Javanese princess, but it proves the shrine's public identity was once less settled. Other versions named a holy woman, an Indian Muslim quarry worker from Johor, a Malay keramat, or even a termite mound shaped like a reclining body. Competing versions differed over the person, nationality, and cause of death, although many later accounts repeated substantially the same German girl narrative. The sacred hill remained the fixed point beneath them all. From the late 1980s, Chia Yengkeng's German girl account gained wider circulation through interviews. Its details also changed over time. His earliest printed account reportedly mentioned Dutch-German ancestry. Later versions dropped the Dutch element, leaving a cleaner and more memorable German identity. By 2004, Chia acknowledged in an oral history interview that he could not know whether the story was true. The chain still led back only to hearsay. The German girl had become vivid enough to picture, but still lacked the basic anchors of biography: a name, a family record, and a contemporary witness. Then media gave the story scale. A 2000 book, a 2001 documentary, theatre, and several 2004 productions carried it beyond island memory. Repetition made the narrative familiar. Familiarity made it feel confirmed, even when later accounts were often drawing from the same oral source. Sandy Wang's 2023 oral history study traces how that process pushed an island legend toward accepted history. A major turning point was the early 2000s Find German Girl project, a knowledge-sharing effort that tried to connect scattered names, land records, and memories. The project was not authoritative proof, but once its clues circulated, later writers could mistake a shared lead for an independently verified discovery. The historical record named Thomas Heslop Hill, Hermann Mullinghaus, and Daniel Brandt. It did not itself prove that German families lived on Ubin in 1914. In later copying, Mullinghaus became Mullingens, while Thomas Heslop Hill disappeared from some versions. A transcription error began to resemble a separate family clue. This is how a paper trail can mislead without anyone deliberately inventing evidence. Copying can obscure the original source's qualifications and uncertainty. The most tempting identification was Daniel Brandt's daughter, but Wang reports that his only daughter was stillborn on 9th of April, 1890. She was buried on mainland Singapore 24 years before the legend's alleged Ubin death. That finding undercuts the proposed identity without identifying anyone else. The underlying cemetery register was not independently inspected in the reviewed research. Even this strong contradiction must therefore retain a careful boundary. Another mystery arrived in 1993, when the National Heritage Board says the shrine's urn and contents were stolen and later replaced. BiblioAsia records competing versions of that episode, with the earlier contents gone or uncertain. Later claims about remains became even harder to test. By then, however, the shrine no longer depended on recoverable bones or a confirmed biography. Worship had built its own continuity. That distinction matters. A doubtful origin story does not make the shrine, its caretakers, or its religious meaning unreal. In 2015, the earlier wooden structure was substantially rebuilt as a larger brick shrine. The physical sanctuary entered another documented chapter. BiblioAsia reports that the rebuilding followed religious consultation involving a temple in Batu Pahat. Some details came from a later anonymous interview. The renovation is better supported than every explanation for why it happened. Once again, the structure is easier to document than the story around it. Modern features include German wording and a date of 1896. Researchers describe these as later additions, not proof carried forward from the 19th century. The date may simply be a mistake. A modern sign can reveal how people interpret a shrine while revealing nothing certain about its beginning. The strongest alternative explanation is that an older Keramat tradition was gradually recast around a foreign girl. Keramat means a sacred person, grave, or place. A sacred mound beside a quarry could survive even as its first identity faded. New stories might then gather around the place like layers of earth. The hill, mound, quarry, and mixed local worship fit that model. But no early document records the moment a Keramat became the German girl shrine. It remains an interpretation, not a solved origin. Replacing one uncertain biography with another would repeat the same mistake. The internet amplified the story. Digital copies repeated polished versions of the legend across travel pages, videos, and social platforms. A repeated claim could appear in travel pages, videos, and social posts, each looking separate while inheriting the same uncertain source. Official heritage pages now preserve the account with cautious phrases such as the girl being said to have fled. Their role is also to document living memory. Public history often carries traditions that matter culturally, even when their literal details remain unsettled. The danger begins when attribution disappears. The responsible version separates two truths. A shrine can be historically real, while the identity assigned to it remains historically unverified. What is established is substantial: the current shrine, continuing offerings, quarry-related relocation, and the major 2015 rebuilding. Also established are Britain's 1914 wartime controls. They explain why the legends sounded possible, but they do not connect the unnamed girl to Ubin. What remains unsupported is the full biography: an 18-year-old German resident, a wartime escape, a death near the quarry, and a verified grave. No located contemporary missing person report, death record, or post-war family search supplies her name. That is a bounded archival finding, not proof that every possible record is gone. Future research could still inspect wider immigration, church, police, shipping, burial, and property records. It could also trace the shrine's earliest documented worship. Until then, the shrine guards a person who may be hidden by lost records, transformed by oral memory, or created from an older sacred tradition. The ghost story may be uncertain, but current and continuing worship is well documented. NPark says the community has tended the shrine for more than a century, while the earliest surviving evidence of worship remains unresolved. Who do you think the people of Pulau Ubin were originally honoring?